Hello, and welcome to Up Close and Personal with Inelia Benz. I'm your host, Helene Lipson. For our listeners not yet acquainted with Inelia, she was born in Chile and entered this world directly from source energy without any karmic debt, and she came into this life with a sense of knowingness on a pure mission. Her soul's purpose is to raise the vibrational level of the planet to a critical point that will allow a transitioning into the new paradigm, the new level of awareness for everything, for the planet and everything in it, every rock, every insect, every person. And to do that job, Inelia is a spiritual catalyst, awakening those asleep, helping those already aware to reach a higher vibrational level. And she's even traveled to different geographical areas in various ways for the sake of cleansing it so that the vibration can come through properly. Our program today is about Inelia's upbringing, her parents, and her early life. Many people wonder what she was like during her early years and what her parents' response was to a child born with such knowingness about the meaning of life and the state of mankind. Today, we'll have an opportunity to see Inelia up close and personal. Hi, Inelia.
Hi there.
Hi.
How are you today?
I am so good, and I'm so excited to talk to you a little bit about your early life. So I do know this. You were born in Chile in the mid-60s.
Yeah, I was born in Chile in 1966 to two university professors,
Mm.
maths and physics professors, and yeah, I was the third and last of their children.
Oh, the baby.
Yeah, I was the baby.
Okay. And what was it like growing up with two university professor parents? When did they recognize that you were not your average child?
Well, I think that one of the reasons they were chosen was because they were so involved in their own lives that they took very little notice of their children. And this, it was also with my siblings who are also extremely special in their own way, as all children are, but my parents had no idea most of the time what we were up to, what we were getting, what we were doing. And so, yeah, there were a couple of instances where I think they became a little bit, not concerned, but interested in what was happening inside of this little body, right? I was really tiny. I mean, I'm small now. I'm 5 foot, nothing, and but as a child, I was really, really tiny, and it's like at one point I remember that they brought in these specialists to test us, or maybe me. I don't remember if it was all the kids or just myself, to see if we were geniuses.
Oh, and
And it was hilarious because at the time I used to have two little guides with me who used to teach me about Earth and people and how to respond to different things because I didn't have the regular responses that other people will have. I would always observe, and because I had no idea what anybody was doing, so I didn't understand, for example, that you couldn't go into people's minds and talk to them directly in there. And I always quote my mom saying, at one point, don't look into that man's head or something like that. I can't exactly remember, but it's very rude kind of thing. It's not good manners. That's bad manners to do that. And I stopped doing that because, and I think also there was an element of fear with regards to her comment because I think she was afraid of what I would see, right? Because she didn't trust men, and so yeah, it was interesting. We were tested, and I remember when these guys were there, it was a whole team of people, men and women from the university, doing all these different tests. And I was being told by my two friends, no, don't tell them that you know how to do that and don't sort that out. just do this instead, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when they would ask me questions, they would tell me what to answer, and it was very, very, very kind of childish type thing answers, right?
Mm.
And so yeah, it was really interesting because I think the aim was that nobody would notice what I was.
Mm-hmm.
And I found myself that it didn't matter what it was that I was doing, whether it was painting a picture, playing with a musical instrument, or reading, or whatever, mathematics, physics, chemistry. I would be extremely good at it, right? And
Mm.
I would be very easily sucked into whatever world that was. And at one point, for example, I was offered a place when in England, because obviously I've missed a little bit there. In 1973, there was a military coup in Chile, and we eventually ended up in exile. At first, it was Argentina, but then I went back. My mother stayed in Argentina. My father ended up in East Germany. He was exchanged by some other person, and he ended up there. But then he ended up in Spain, and my mother ended up in England, and I ended up in England with my mother. And so even there, I would sometimes be sucked into very specific type of careers. There was one event where I was given a full scholarship for the opportunity to go and study with the Royal Academy of Ballet, and um, and I didn't because when I looked at it, I saw the timeline, right? When we make
Mm-hmm.
huge choices like that, we're tapping into timelines. And that particular timeline was very, very intense. It was just about ballet and nothing else entered there.
Ah.
And that wasn't part of what I was here to do, so I didn't take the opportunity. I refused it. And there was other things like mathematics. I used to excel at mathematics, and then from one day to the next, I lost all my mathematical capacity. Right, from
Mm.
being able to, I was, in the school, I was in the advanced class and doing very, very, very high level mathematics and physics. And when it was after actually I left school that from one day to the next, I couldn't even add two and two together. It was partly through possibly the result of brain damage when I had a motorbike accident and I died for a while. So the loss of oxygen would have damaged
Wow.
the brain. And that's only been coming back very recently. Like a couple of years ago, Source asked me to learn a musical instrument and also to learn French. And I didn't know why, but I started with a musical instrument right away, and the French have been dragging my heels on.
Why were you? Why do you think that they were asking you to do that? Why do you
I,
think they were asking you to learn an instrument and to learn French?
I didn't know at the time, but then what I noticed was that all of a sudden I was able to add two and two together again. And then
Oh.
to start remembering numbers, because I couldn't remember a string of numbers, even a phone number. It was really very, very difficult for me. It was extremely hard. But then all of a sudden I started being able to remember two numbers together type thing for like one of these random generator numbers to get into a computer program. I used to have such a difficult time logging in because I would look at the generator thing and then I remember the two numbers. I would try to put them down and I couldn't remember what they were. I'd look back and then of course, the thing would change.
So, what was the age you had this motor? When you say motorbike, is that like a motorcycle?
Yeah, I'm a
Okay.
yeah.
And so, when did you have this? How old were you?
I was 18 years old.
Oh.
And at the time, I was actually studying to be a classical guitar soloist. I was extremely good at it. And I smashed my right hand. It went down to 45% mobility or something like that at the time. So I wasn't able to play guitar anymore.
Oh my God. And in the intro to this to the intro of this program, we have a picture of you at age 16 playing guitar.
Right, yes.
What a beautiful child. I mean, you're absolutely stunning even now. But what beautiful, beautiful pictures. Every single one of them. You're just absolutely stunning. I
Oh,
just want to
thank
tell
you.
you. But I just to backtrack, so wow, you could have really studied and did classical guitar, and then how did you handle this? How did you handle?
Well, for me, it was just, oh, whatever. And I continued with life. I had no charge on it whatsoever. It was just really amazing. And I didn't actually realize that I had actually been injured in a very emotional way with regards to losing music until Source asked me to learn another musical instrument. And then I was looking around thinking, oh my goodness, what can I play that doesn't involve using your right hand very much? Because I honestly can't use it very much even now.
Mm.
Um, and then the violin just, came to me from various sources. So I started taking violin lessons. And it was when I started playing music again, I started crying and thinking, oh my God, I've missed you so much. It's like
Oh,
this tragic love affair with music. And it was just so nice to be back. And a few months ago, I had my mother's guitar fixed and I tried to take a couple of lessons, and it was just so painful with my right hand that I wasn't
uh,
able to. But at least I had closure, right? And I thought, okay, I said, well, guitar was never actually my choice of instrument because it was my mother who convinced me to do it.
did she play instruments? Did your mom
She
play?
she loved she loved the guitar and she loved to sing. And she eventually, at the last part of her life, that for the last 4 years, she actually took lessons, and she was very gifted when she took the lessons.
Oh,
Yeah, she was able to sing really beautifully, and the guitar, she was able to finally learn how to play the guitars, which was really nice, really nice.
that is so. The hardest, I mean, the biggest part when we're talking about your upbringing, your parents, and your early life was really this major transition that happened in 1973, where here you were having basically a peaceful life in Chile, and then all of a sudden everybody was abruptly uprooted. And I hear, you do go with the flow, and even the way that you handled the motorcycle accident. How at age 7, I think it was, did you cope with this?
Yeah, it was actually very traumatic at the time. It was extremely painful. That's one of the things you see when we live life and painful things happen, we feel the pain, and it's important to feel and process that pain as it happens. What we mustn't do is continue carrying that pain after the event is over, right?
Hmm.
So, yes, as a little 7-year-old child, I suffered. I was in great pain, and it was, an enormously traumatic experience that stayed with me for a long time until because my family never really got back together again in any way or form. Um, and the injured parties, my parents, my mother and father, were tortured in horrific ways, and they were broken from that day forth. They'd never really recovered, except for my mom. In the last 4 years, she did a lot of chanting and processing and things, and she did, with my help, recover, and with my siblings' help as well. But my father, I can and honestly say he never really recovered. He's still very damaged even now. So, it's like, and as a child, you carry that, you feel your parents' pain because you're still very connected to them. And one of the things that I couldn't understand was, well, it's over now. Why are you still hurting, right? And
Yeah.
that's suffering. That's the one of the chains of enslavement for the planet is suffering. Suffering is the holding on to pain past the event that created it. Right. So yeah,
Wow.
it was hard. I mean, people say, "Oh my goodness, you had such a hard life. It's so traumatic." There was also loads of other stuff there involved. And it wasn't just that, but it's like, yeah. So what? It's like it's just a life. At least it's just one life. And people have been here for hundreds of lifetimes, having extremely traumatic events. And it's all about. I think it's all about drama and how addicted we can become to drama, as well as how distracting it is. Drama
Mm-hmm.
is, drama is extremely distractive, and not destructive, but it
Yeah,
distracts you, right?
absolutely.
And yeah, so I was given a lot of drama to distract me.
But it seems like, when you're talking about suffering and pain, it seems like a piece of you is driven to let go of a lot of the suffering. Yes, of course, in the human condition we have to experience, or just in being human, there is pain. But suffering, the holding on to it, I mean, I see you as somebody who has had the ability to let go of the difficulty and drama so that you could be a model of what humanity could be. And I know in a previous episode when we spoke, you did say sometimes, you know what, when I'm hungry, when I'm tired, I am susceptible to drama. And that's human, isn't it? Though, just being human. And then, but it seems to me you've had the ability to let go of that drama.
I think that it is our natural ability to let go of things as soon as they pass, right? Even at a physical level, right? But the things that the amount and the continuous amount of drama or pressure or stress that is put on each individual human being, that's what keeps them down and keeps their vibration low. Because I was unable to hold on to suffering, what happens was that I was, I'm not talking about being a victim here because I wasn't. I was just ignorant,
Mm.
and I was very skillfully taken out of the game for a very long time. Through not completely because I still continued to work throughout my life, but very the 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 capacity that I had to affect a positive environment was lowered tremendously.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I think that even at a global scale, that's happening with society because the drama that we're being given as a collective human species, the wars, the financial collapse, the worry about work, and the work schedules that people are put into, television, drinking, all that is very, very dramatic and it's very distracting so that people don't have time to even sit down and do nothing and don't have time to daydream. And I think mostly, though, that what I'd like to say is that for the majority of my life, I was asked to stay in the background, very, very quiet in the background, and just working in very quiet ways. And the public thing just came in recently. Even people who know me for a long time, they said, "Well, I knew you were different, and I knew there was something about you, but wow, this is what it's about." Because the information wasn't allowed to come out,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. But it's interesting. What's so wonderful in this episode is that you always knew who you were. You had guidance and assistance even at an early age. And so you did have this awareness to you. And through whatever trauma you'd been through, you were able to come out of it the way that you are now, and you significantly make a difference in the lives of others. So I thank you so much for talking with us on Up Close and Personal with Inelia Benz about your upbringing, your parents, and your early life. This is your host, Helene Lipson. Tune in next week to Up Close and Personal with Inelia Benz to learn about Inelia's children, parenting style, and much, much more. Looking forward to seeing you soon. Till we meet again, love, light, and blessings to all. Namaste.